Amelia Hayes woke up to the sound of rain tapping gently against the window. For a moment she lay still, half lost in the rhythm of it, wondering if this was what 50 was supposed to feel like. Calm on the surface, uneasy underneath. She reached for the clock on the nightstand, 6:30 a.m. The room smelled faintly of lilies from the bouquet Victor had left the night before, an early birthday gesture that somehow felt rehearsed. She slid out of bed and walked barefoot to the mirror. The woman looking back had silver threads in her hair and soft lines at the corners of her mouth, marks of laughter and survival. She smiled at herself, faintly proud. She had built a life that looked perfect from the outside. A steady marriage, a beautiful home, friends who admired her grace. But lately the air around her had grown heavier, colder, filled with the unspoken distance that only long marriages know. Victor was still asleep, his back turned toward her. His phone rested on the nightstand, face down, as always. Amelia looked at it for a second, too long. She had learned not to touch it, not after the last argument about trust and privacy. She turned away, tying her robe. Coffee first, doubts later. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of toast and old memories. She set the kettle to boil and glanced at the framed photos on the counter. Wedding day, vacations, the smiling man who once whispered dreams instead of schedules. Somewhere along the years, love had become logistics. When Victor finally came down, he looked unusually polished. New suit, freshly shaved, a gleam in his eyes that wasn't for her. "Morning, birthday girl," he said, kissing her cheek lightly. "Big night ahead? You excited?" She forced a smile. "Should I be?" "Of course. I've planned something special this time. You'll see." He poured himself coffee and hummed under his breath, the tune unfamiliar. Amelia studied him quietly, the sudden cheer, the hidden nerves behind it. Something was coming. She could feel it like a storm in her bones. After he left for work, the house grew silent again. She tidied the kitchen, but her thoughts wouldn't settle. His words echoed, something special. Victor had never been one for surprises. He preferred control, precision, predictability. The change unsettled her. Her phone buzzed on the counter, a message from her friend Lena. "Dinner still on? Victor mentioned a big announcement. Should I wear something formal?" A chill crawled up Amelia's spine. "A big announcement?" She typed back quickly. "Yes, it's my birthday, not his press conference. Just come." But the unease stayed. By noon, the rain had stopped. She walked to the market for flowers, trying to shake off the anxiety. The vendor smiled warmly. "Happy birthday, Mrs. Hayes. 50 looks good on you." "Thank you," she replied softly. It was kind, but her chest ached. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of something she couldn't name. When she returned home, a delivery man waited at her gate with a large white box tied in silver ribbon. "From Mr. Hayes," he said, handing her the clipboard. Inside the box lay a designer dress, emerald green silk, stunning but far too revealing for her taste. A note rested on top. "Wear this tonight. You'll be the star of the evening." Amelia traced the words with her fingers. They looked more like orders than affection. She folded the note and tucked it away. Evening came, dressed in city lights. The banquet hall Victor had rented gleamed with gold decor, roses, and the soft murmur of guests sipping champagne. Amelia entered on Victor's arm, the emerald dress hugging her figure. Cameras flashed, compliments floated, and she smiled through them all. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victor's voice boomed suddenly over the microphone, "thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate my wife's 50th birthday." Applause filled the hall. Amelia's heart steadied. Maybe she had been wrong. Maybe this really was love remembering itself. Then Victor continued. 50 years is a long journey, he said, raising his glass. And 25 of those years we've shared together. But sometimes life calls for change. Tonight, I'm embracing that change. The room quieted. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a white envelope. "These," he announced, "are divorce papers, because I think 50 is old enough for new beginnings, for both of us." Gasps rippled through the crowd, glasses frozen midair. Amelia's pulse pounded in her ears. Victor smiled, unbothered. "Don't look so shocked, darling. You deserve someone who appreciates you, and I deserve someone young enough to keep up." Beside him stood a woman Amelia had not noticed before, a tall brunette, barely 30, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. She slipped her arm through Victor's, as if claiming a prize. For a long moment, Amelia couldn't move. The laughter, the music, every sound blurred into a low hum. Then she inhaled slowly and reached for the microphone. "Thank you," she said, her voice calm, almost gentle. "You're right, Victor. 50 is the perfect age for new beginnings." The guests watched, wide-eyed. Victor frowned, uncertain. She continued, "In fact, I've been preparing for this moment for months, so let's celebrate, because tonight you're not the only one starting over." A murmur swept the room. Victor's smile faltered. She set the microphone down carefully, turned, and walked away through the stunned silence. Cameras clicked, whispers followed her out into the corridor where the air was cool and still. Her hands trembled only slightly. Outside, she exhaled, steadying herself. The humiliation burned, but beneath it was something stronger. Clarity. He thought he had trapped her, but he had no idea what she already knew. 2 months earlier, she had found the first sign, a lipstick stain on a receipt tucked in his jacket pocket, an expensive restaurant they had never visited together. She had laughed it off then, convincing herself it meant nothing. But the stains kept appearing. Perfume on his shirts, late-night calls he dismissed as clients. One evening, when Victor left his laptop open, curiosity overpowered caution. She saw the messages, sweet nothings to someone named Clara, plans for after the birthday, discussions about selling the house. The betrayal had been unfolding quietly while she still cooked his dinners. She didn't confront him. Instead, she planned. She copied the emails, saved the screenshots, and spoke with her lawyer friend Daniel Price, who taught her exactly how to protect herself. Every account, every property document, every asset shifted piece by piece until her name alone held power. And now, as Victor basked in his brief victory inside that glittering hall, Amelia walked into the rain again with a calm smile. The real party had just begun. The city lights blurred through the downpour. Amelia stopped under an awning, dialing Daniel's number. "It happened," she said when he answered. "Tonight?" "Yes, in front of everyone." A pause, then his measured tone. "Then it's time for step 2. You're ready?" She looked up at the clouds, the thunder muttering softly above. More than ready. As she hung up, she felt the strange freedom of a woman who had nothing left to lose and everything to reclaim. The night rain had turned the city streets into ribbons of reflected light. Amelia drove slowly, the wipers brushing away her thoughts as much as the drops on the windshield. Every honk, every street lamp, every voice in the distance sounded distant, like echoes from another life. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Lena. "Are you okay? What the hell just happened? Do you need me?" Amelia typed back, "Go home. I'll call tomorrow." She didn't want witnesses tonight. She wanted silence. She parked outside her house. No, their house, though soon that word would shrink. The gate creaked as she entered, the garden lights glowing faintly in the mist. Inside, the air smelled of lilies again, the same bouquet from morning, now wilted. She dropped her purse on the table, walked straight to the study, and turned on the desk lamp. Her hands no longer trembled. The shock had burned itself out. What remained was purpose. She opened the drawer where she had kept the folder. Copies of bank statements, email printouts, his transfers to Clara, even the small offshore account he thought she'd never find. Daniel had helped her track every cent. She sat down, arranging the documents like puzzle pieces on the desk. Each sheet told a story. The man she married, the man she lost, and the stranger she had quietly been studying for months. The clock ticked toward midnight. She poured herself a glass of wine and began to read, not as a wife now, but as a witness collecting evidence. She remembered the first real sign of change. It had been spring, the magnolia tree outside the window blooming like a secret. Victor had come home late, smelling of a perfume that didn't belong to her. When she asked where he'd been, he smiled thinly. Just a client dinner. She had nodded, letting it pass. Love had taught her patience, but age had taught her to listen to silence. Days turned to weeks. His laughter, once easy, grew sharper. His gaze often lingered on his phone instead of her. One night, as they ate dinner in the half-light, he said casually, "Do you ever wish you'd done something else with your life, Amelia? Something exciting?" She looked up, fork suspended. "Like what?" "Oh, I don't know. Something that makes you feel young again." She had smiled politely then, but inside something twisted. That was the beginning of the end. Now, months later, she had names, dates, numbers. Clara Moreno, 32, marketing assistant at his firm. She had moved into a downtown apartment 6 months ago, one Victor had helped pay for under a consulting expense. Amelia had copies of those invoices. She opened her laptop, logged into the private folder Daniel had set up, and uploaded the latest evidence. A message appeared. Backup complete. Next step, financial division. She closed the lid. Enough work for one night. In the morning, the house was quiet. Victor hadn't come home. No call, no message. She made tea and opened the window. The air smelled fresh, almost forgiving. By 9 o'clock, she was dressed and walking to her car when a sleek black sedan pulled up in front of the gate. The window rolled down, and there he was, Victor. In his dark suit, glasses on, expression perfectly composed. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied flatly. "May I come in?" "You already have." She stepped aside. He walked in, scanning the room like a stranger in someone else's home. "You left early last night. That was dramatic. You humiliated me in front of everyone." He sighed. "It wasn't meant to be cruel. I wanted honesty. We've been unhappy for years. You know that. Honesty would have been a conversation, not a spectacle." He looked away. "You'll see it differently in time." "No," she said softly. "I see it clearly now." She walked past him to the kitchen. "Coffee?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Please." As she poured the coffee, he said, "Look, I've spoken to my lawyer. We can handle this amicably. You'll get your share, and I'll move out once things are settled." "My share?" she repeated. Interesting choice of words. He looked at her sharply. "Don't make this harder than it has to be, Amelia." She smiled faintly. "I won't. I promise." When he left, she immediately called Daniel. "He's trying to push a fast settlement." Expected. "He wants control. Don't sign anything yet. We'll make the first move." "What's next?" "Send me the updated bank info and start recording any conversations with him. Every word matters." "Understood," she said. That afternoon, she visited the office she once shared with Victor, back when they started their business together. The receptionist looked startled to see her. "Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Hayes didn't say you were coming." "Good," she said. I just need a few files from accounting. In Victor's glass-walled office, she moved quickly, photographing documents on his desk, project proposals, client transfers, and a few notes scribbled in Clara's handwriting. One sheet caught her eye, a financial summary titled Future Holdings with only one name on it, Victor Hayes. She smiled bitterly. Of course. Before leaving, she placed a sealed envelope in the top drawer. Inside was a letter she had written months earlier. Her statement, dated, signed, and witnessed, outlining his affair, his misuse of company funds, and his intent to defraud her. A time bomb waiting for its trigger. That evening, Lena visited uninvited, carrying a bottle of wine and wide eyes full of questions. Amelia, what the hell happened? Everyone's talking about it. Victor, the young woman, he actually handed you divorce papers? Amelia nodded, calm. He did. Lena sank into the couch. You didn't even flinch. I had already seen them. Amelia said. Lena blinked. You knew? Yes, he left the drafts on his laptop weeks ago. My God, and you didn't say anything? Amelia poured them both wine. What would be the point? He'd already decided. I just decided too. Decided what? To win, she said simply. Lena stared, half fearful, half admiring. You're not planning something crazy, are you? No, just fair. Later that night, Amelia sat on the balcony, city lights glittering below like quiet witnesses. She replayed the evening in her mind. His smug face, the whispers, the pitying glances. The humiliation had cut deep, but not deep enough to kill her spirit. She thought of her younger self, the one who had believed love could fix anything. That woman was gone now. In her place stood someone sharper, steadier, dangerous in her calm. She whispered to the dark, You wanted a performance, Victor. You're going to get one. The following week, preparations began. Daniel worked quietly behind the scenes, freezing certain accounts, filing preliminary motions that Victor wouldn't see coming. Amelia played her part perfectly. Cold but polite, detached but composed. Victor, misreading her calm, believed she had accepted defeat. He started bringing Clara to public events, holding her hand in plain sight. Photos appeared online, headlines calling them the power couple redefining success. Amelia ignored them all, never reacting. Every smile she gave in public now had purpose. Every silence was a weapon. One morning, she received a call from Daniel. We have what we need. Your husband's company funds were diverted into personal accounts. We can prove intent. Good, she said, but not yet. I want the world to see it all at once. You're thinking of the birthday fallout. Yes, but bigger. I want his empire to collapse the same way he tried to destroy me, publicly. There was a pause on the line. Then Daniel said quietly, You're colder than I remember. I'm older than you remember. That night she dreamed of their early days, cheap apartments, shared laughter, the thrill of ambition. They had once been a team. Waking from that dream, she felt a pang of grief, not for him, but for the years she could never reclaim. She rose, walked to the mirror, and whispered, You wasted my time, Victor. Now I'll take yours. 2 days later, a courier delivered a legal notice to Victor's office. Inside, a motion for full forensic audit of company accounts and joint assets. He called her immediately. What the hell is this? Transparency, she said. You always valued honesty, remember? You're out of your mind, he snapped.
No, she said softly. I just stopped pretending. He hung up. Amelia sat back, exhaling. The trap was tightening.
The morning sun rose over the city like a blade of gold slicing through the night. Amelia sat at her kitchen table, her hands folded neatly around a steaming cup of coffee. The newspaper lay in front of her. On the business page, a small headline caught her eye. Hayes Corporation faces audit inquiry. It had begun. She smiled, a slow, steady smile that held no joy, only satisfaction. The story was short, but the damage was already done. Clients would start to question, investors would start to pull back, and Victor, oh Victor, would start to panic. Her phone buzzed. Daniel's name appeared. "It's out," he said. "I saw," she replied calmly. "Expect a reaction soon. He won't take this quietly. I'm counting on it." She hung up and set the cup down, feeling a strange peace settle inside her. For the first time in months, she didn't feel powerless. She felt alive. Victor stormed into her house that evening without warning, slamming the door behind him. His tie was loose, his hair disheveled, his perfect composure cracking. "What did you do?" he demanded. Amelia didn't look up from her book. "Good evening to you too, Victor." "Don't play games. You had no right to—" "I had every right. Half that company is mine, remember?" He paced the floor like a trapped animal. "You're going to ruin us both." "No," she said. "I'm going to save myself." "Do you even know what this will do to my reputation?" She looked up then, her eyes cold. "Do you know what it did to mine when you humiliated me in front of everyone on my birthday?" He stopped, his jaw tightening. "You can't win this, Amelia. I have influence, connections. Connections that crumble when money vanishes, and I know exactly where yours went." For a moment, he stared at her, something almost like fear flickering behind his anger. Then he laughed harshly. "You think you're clever, but you're still just the woman who depended on me." Amelia stood slowly, closing her book. "Not anymore." He glared at her, then turned sharply and walked out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. She exhaled, long and steady. The performance was almost over. The next days moved quickly. News spread that the audit had expanded. Internal investigators now questioned financial discrepancies, and rumors hinted at a possible embezzlement charge. Daniel updated her daily. "The firm's shares dropped 18% today. He's trying to stop the bleeding, but it's bad." "Good," Amelia replied. "Keep watching. He's going to suspect you're feeding information to the press." "I'm not, but I know someone who is." Daniel paused. "Who?" "Clara." There was silence. Amelia continued. "She's young. She thought she was in love, but she's scared now. Scared she'll go down with him. She's been talking to people. Reporters, maybe lawyers. She'll save herself." Daniel exhaled. "You really thought of everything." "I had time," she said simply. One afternoon, Clara herself called. The number flashed unknown, but Amelia answered. "Mrs. Hayes?" A trembling voice said. "Yes?" "It's Clara. I know you probably hate me, but I didn't know everything. He told me you were cold, cruel, that your marriage was over." Amelia listened quietly. "I wanted to believe him," Clara went on, her voice breaking, "but now he's shutting me out. He's blaming me for everything. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." Amelia spoke softly, almost kindly. "You were young. You believed a liar. We've all done that once." "I have documents," Clara whispered. "Proof that he used company funds for our apartment, for trips. I don't want to go to jail." "Then don't," Amelia said. "Send them to the auditors. Tell the truth." "Will you protect me?" "I can't, but the truth will." When the call ended, Amelia sat still for a long time, the weight of the conversation pressing against her heart. She didn't hate Clara anymore. In a way, the girl had just handed her the final piece she needed. By the end of the week, Immediate had caught fire. CEO under investigation for misuse of corporate funds. Whistleblower provides evidence of fraud and affair. Victor Hayes faces potential suspension. Every headline was a knife sharpened by truth. Amelia watched the coverage in silence, sipping tea as if it were any ordinary morning. Lena called. "It's everywhere. You must be thrilled." Amelia smiled faintly. "I'm not thrilled, just finished." 2 days later, Victor came to her again, but this time he didn't shout. He looked broken. His eyes had dark circles, his suit hung loose, and his voice had lost its arrogance. "I lost everything, Amelia. They're freezing accounts. The board's meeting tomorrow to remove me. Clara's talking to the investigators." Amelia said nothing. "I know you did this, but I don't understand why." She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "Because you taught me how." He blinked, confused. "You taught me to plan, to hide, to manipulate outcomes. You called it business. I called it survival." He sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I already have what I need." He looked up, eyes hollow. "You're really going to let them destroy me?" Amelia's voice was calm, almost gentle. "You destroyed yourself. I just stopped cleaning up your mess." That night, she couldn't sleep. Revenge had its cost, and it was heavier than she expected. She sat by the window, watching the rain fall in soft patterns. Lena's voicicle, "You must be thrilled." But she wasn't. She was free, yes, but freedom after a long war feels like silence after thunder, too quiet to trust. She thought of the years, the love, the laughter that had turned to bitterness. There was no victory in what she had done, only closure. Still, when she closed her eyes, she saw his face, shocked, defeated, human, and she felt no pity. The next morning, Daniel called again. "It's official. He's been suspended pending investigation. They'll seize assets next week." "Then it's over," she said softly. "For him, maybe. For you, it's a beginning." She hung up, walked to the mirror, and studied the woman staring back. Her eyes were clear, her face calm. She looked older, yes, but stronger. The past was ashes now. It was time to build something new. She went out for a walk, the air crisp and clean. At the corner cafe, she ordered her usual tea. The waiter, a young man with kind eyes, smiled. "You look happy today." Amelia thought for a moment, then nodded. "I suppose I am." She sat by the window, watching people pass by. Lovers holding hands, children laughing, strangers lost in their own worlds. Life went on, indifferent and beautiful. She realized then that revenge hadn't healed her. Time had. But revenge had opened the door. She whispered to herself, "Happy birthday, Amelia." The courtroom was colder than Amelia expected. The walls were high, gray, and bare, the kind of place built to make even the powerful feel small. She sat in the second row, a composed silhouette among murmuring reporters and curious spectators. At the front, Victor Hayes stood beside his attorney, pale but still trying to wear the mask of control. His suit was immaculate, his hair neatly styled, but there was something hollow in his eyes. The judge entered. Silence fell like a curtain. "Case number 5742, Hayes Corporation versus the state. Charges: fraud, misappropriation of funds, falsified reports, and breach of fiduciary duty." Each word struck the air with finality. Amelia's pulse remained steady. She wasn't here for vengeance anymore. She was here for closure. Daniel sat beside her, a silent pillar of support. "He's going to plead not guilty," he whispered. "Of course he will. He never admits when he's wrong." At the defense table, Victor leaned in to his lawyer. The man whispered something. Then Victor looked up, scanning the room until his gaze found hers. Their eyes met. One final time. For a brief moment, the years fell away. The man who had once been her husband, her confidant, the one she had trusted with every piece of her heart, now just a stranger fighting to save himself. She gave him nothing in return. No pity, no anger, only quiet indifference. The trial moved quickly. The prosecution laid out the evidence. Bank statements, wire transfers, hidden accounts, receipts for gifts, apartments, and vacations, all traced back to company funds. Then came the testimonies. Clara took the stand. Her voice trembled at first, but she spoke with courage. "Yes," she said. "He told me the money was his. He said it was a bonus, that no one would ever find out. I didn't know what was really happening." Victor's jaw tightened. He avoided her gaze. When the prosecutor asked, "And who encouraged you to come forward?" she hesitated, then said softly, "Someone who didn't owe me forgiveness." Amelia felt the words land in the air like a quiet truth. Outside the courtroom, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "Mrs. Hayes, did you know about your husband's actions? Are you seeking restitution? Do you believe justice is being served?" She paused only long enough to answer one. "I believe the truth always serves itself," she said calmly, then walked away. Daniel guided her through the crowd. "That was brilliant," he murmured. "I wasn't performing. I was saying goodbye." Weeks passed. The trial dragged on, but the outcome was inevitable. The corporation collapsed under the weight of investigation. The board replaced Victor, freezing all his assets. Clara entered witness protection under a different name. And Amelia, she finalized her divorce quietly, without fanfare, without media. The papers came in the mail one bright morning. She signed them in silence, sealing away 25 years of her life with a single signature. The pen slipped for a moment, and she caught herself smiling. Not because she was happy, but because she was free. One evening, as autumn leaves drifted down the empty streets, she visited the condo for the last time, the one they had shared, the one her parents had once gifted her. The walls echoed with memories, laughter, arguments, silence, all of it still lingering in the air. She walked from room to room, touching the furniture, the windowsills, the marks on the wall that only she remembered. In the bedroom, she opened the safe, once filled with joint documents, insurance, bank accounts. Now it held only one envelope. Inside were the original deed papers Mr. Perry had given her, confirming her sole ownership, and beneath them, a photo. Her and Victor, smiling on their wedding day. For a brief moment, the years fell away. The man who had once been her husband, her confidant, the one she had trusted with every piece of her heart, now just a stranger fighting to save himself. She gave him nothing in return. No pity, no anger, only quiet indifference. Days later, she met Daniel at a cafe. "So," he said, stirring his coffee, "any plans now that the dust is settled?" She looked out the window. "Germany," she said. "My aunt left me property there. I think it's time for a change of air." He nodded, raising his cup in a quiet toast. "To freedom." She lifted hers. "To peace." Months later, a letter arrived at her new apartment in Munich. The postmark was American. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Amelia, I'm sorry. You were right. I destroyed everything. If you can, remember me once as the man you married, not the man I became. Victor." She read it twice, folded it neatly, and placed it in a drawer. There were no tears. just stillness. Years passed. Amelia built a quiet life, teaching finance at a university, volunteering at a local shelter, walking by the river every morning. Her hair turned silver, her smile softened. Sometimes, when she looked at the sunrise reflecting off the water, she thought of that night, the birthday party, the laughter that hid deceit, the moment she took the microphone and ended a lifetime of silence. That had been the night everything changed, not just for him, but for her. Because that night, she stopped being a victim. She became her own beginning. One spring morning, as cherry blossoms drifted through the park, she sat on a bench and closed her eyes. Daniel, now a close friend, joined her with 2 coffees. "You look peaceful," he said. "I am," she replied. "It took a long time, but I finally learned the difference between revenge and release." He smiled. "And which one did you choose?" She turned her face toward the sunlight. Both, in the right order. They laughed quietly together, the kind of laughter that comes after storms. The past was gone, and so was its shadow. As the wind carried the scent of flowers across the park, Amelia thought of one simple truth, that sometimes life doesn't give justice in courtrooms or apologies in letters. Sometimes it gives you silence and a sunrise, and that's enough. She took a deep breath and smiled to herself. "The birthday trap," she whispered, almost amused, "and I was the one who set it free." Then she stood up, walking into the morning light, calm, certain, and completely unbroken.